significant benefits from Mussolini, despite the fact that Mussolini himself was scarcely a religious person, but he realized the value of having church support. Whether just take a couple of other questions that I think Ruth raised, and then perhaps we can open the floor up to everyone here. And I feel badly that people are standing, but appreciate your interest. Did the Pope have agency? One of the themes in my book is that as he got older, Pope Pius XI began to have doubts and regrets about the deal he had made with the fascist regime. And that as he did, people around him, including his Cardinal Secretary of State, Eugenio Pacelli, who would later succeed him, but including others as well, especially including certainly Taki Venturi, who for years had been trying to convince Mussolini of a Jewish threat that he needed to act against, that the Pope was frustrated and people were working around him. I think part of what we need to keep in mind here is Pope's age. I think we've seen this in some recent popes, in fact. And so you can't really, when you talk about a pope and what he represented, you really have to look at where in life he was. And in the last years of a number of popes, including a couple of recent ones, they weren't the same men in the same kind of control when they were in their last years as they had been earlier. This is true. Pius XI was a very strong personality. Cardinals and others quaked in his presence. He would throw temper tantrums and bang his fist on the table if he was angry. But in his last years, say beginning 35, 36, until his death in early 39, he was weakening and power was essentially slipping from his grasp. And so as he did begin to make efforts to first criticize the war in Ethiopia that meant so much to Mussolini, and later had criticisms about Mussolini's embrace of Hitler, a man Pope Pius XI detested, those around him thwarted his will time and time again, as I show in the book. So perhaps if there is that kind of broader lesson beyond this particular history, it is this question of popes aging and this staying in office until death, until, of course, recent Benedict XVI. The longue durée argument is, I think, an interesting one. That is, if you look at this for a period of centuries and centuries, the Jews, let's just take Rome, the Jews in Rome were from the 16th century confined to a ghetto. They were limited for many years to essentially selling rags. They were not allowed to have regular interaction with Christians, and they certainly couldn't go to school with Christians, or Christian children couldn't have Jewish teachers and all this. So a lot of what got brought back in the racial laws by Mussolini in 1938 essentially was taken from a tradition that had been in Rome for centuries. And so from that point of view, the liberation of the Jews from the ghetto with the taking of Rome in 1870 by Italian forces from the Pope, and this period from 1870 to, in this case, 1938 with racial laws, perhaps we can see as a historical parenthesis, except for the fact, of course, we know that the historical tide was moving in a different direction, and the emancipation of the Jews was, in fact, the way of the future for Europe, beginning really with the French Revolution. For Pope Francis, I don't know, what to say. I think one of the lessons from my book, I think, is he's what, 77 or 78 years old, that he should move quickly. Seems to be in good health and robust. But I think when you're trying to change, he has been really very forthright and very forceful in denouncing what he calls careerism, power-seeking high up in the Vatican. And when you're taking on people like that, making them unhappy, threatening their positions, it's going to be difficult to get through a very complex, large bureaucracy to make the changes you want. It's difficult enough when you're vibrant and energetic, but as you get older and more infirm, often this becomes increasingly difficult. So I guess the advice to Francis is act soon. Thank you.